Oh, Carly Rothenberg Friedman, welcome to Jewish Money Matters. How are you? It's so great to have you on the show.
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
This is going to be so fun. This is one of my favorite topics. I think we're going to realize we're a little bit of soul sisters. My husband always says, that's your mitzvah. Like, that's the thing you shine. Like, the moment I met you, like I knew it. And I suspect you are the same. You are the founder of
Yes.
mytzedakah.com, a super innovative platform dedicated to really bridging the gap between the next generation of philanthropists. And we'll talk about who that is and the amazing Jewish charities that we have all over the world. So why don't we get started with the need that you noticed in the market that really you identified and you said something needs to change. I need to create something different. What were the needs that you were seeing in the space?
Yeah, so just like you said, like this is my mitzvah. I was like born in a house. I grew up in a house that like valued tzedakah so tremendously. I worked in the Jewish nonprofit space my whole life, and it's just something that I'm really passionate about. There are certain mitzvahs that you're just drawn to, and this is one that I'm really drawn to. But interestingly enough, I realized that I kind of wasn't donating anywhere meaningfully or intentionally. It was kind of like every time my friend would run for a marathon and post about it on Facebook, I would donate there. Every time someone asked me for a donation to something that they were, passionate about, I would donate there. But it didn't feel like a transformative tzedakah. It didn't feel like transformative mitzvah. It didn't feel like I was giving from my soul. And I thought about it and I realized it's because, we're this new generation of tzedakah givers. We don't have a lot of money. But we do want to give, we're passionate. And I just think that maybe the Jewish nonprofit space, and I think this is not even a Jewish problem, I think this is a nonprofit problem. They're just really not set up to target and talk to and market this next generation. They're still kind of stuck in like old traditional fundraising and, like what I call like the dinosaur approach. We're not going to parlor meetings, like we're not going to galas, we're not writing checks. Like I'm never gonna be caught dead writing a check.
Right.
But so I really was thinking, like, how could I build a platform, like bring this ancient, amazing tradition that we have, giving tzedakah, and bring it to the new century, make a beautiful, seamless, easy tech platform for this new generation.
Yeah,
that's what I did.
and you've done a beautiful job at it, and it's incredible when I'm looking at the platform, and you'll tell us now how it works. I was just thinking, like, after the last recession, 2008, you were probably too young to know this, but like after that, so much of how we invest changed. Like now we have platforms like Betterment and Wealthfront and Ellevest, and all of the big banks had to get on board and become online discount brokers and like make the process completely different. And it's just so natural that from this crisis, and there you go, emerging as the heroine, this needed to happen. Like there needed to be a platform where we're actually being intentional about allocating our charitable dollars, and in a way that is transparent. And also I love the way that we can create a profile. Walk us through how it's done, because I think it really mimics the way we can invest now online, but really now we're talking about the best investment that we can be making, which is our sharing to others, our charity. So talk us how the platform really works.
Yeah, so that's exactly what I was thinking. Like I kind of was like mimicking all these new platforms like Mint or whatever. I was TurboTax. I was mimicking all of those platforms, those tech platforms, to build something that would help us be intentional and have a sense of ownership over where we're giving tzedakah, and really build that legacy, that like commitment, that legacy commitment. So how it works is a donor can come on and choose from a multitude of nonprofits on our platform. We're really trying to build like the marketplace for all Jewish nonprofits to be on our platform. And you could search by category. Are you interested in women's organizations and special needs and Torah education, Israel advocacy, like whatever you're interested in, or you could just scroll the list and learn. and you can choose all the charities you want, as many as you want, and you can fill up your wheel. So basically, like as you're choosing charities, it builds this wheel for you. It builds this portfolio, and it's beautiful and it's colorful and it shows you your percentages. Like
Yep.
I donate, my wheel is like 50% women's organizations, 25% health and welfare. And it really shows you like, wow, this is like what I care about. This is a legacy I'm leaving. This is how I'm going to teach my children that we give. Like, this is it feels like my neshama. It really feels like my essence is in my tzedakah now, because I've chosen the charities that I care about.
Yeah.
And what I think is like uniquely our generation, what I think is uniquely new age, is that we want things to be efficient, easy, and automated. Just like everything else, right? So you could set up an amount you want to donate and every single month, and that makes sense for you and your lifestyle, and then we automate it for you. So it's kind of like you're subscribing to your charities,
Right.
like you can donate $360 a month, you can donate $10 a month. It doesn't matter. It's about you and a reflection of who you are, your income, and we automate it for you so that the charities are taken care of every single month, and that you know that your tzedakah is being taken care of for you in the most personal, meaningful way. And I think something that I just learned through being in the Jewish nonprofit space and the nonprofit space in general is that monthly recurring revenue is the most sought after thing any nonprofit could possibly want. Most Jewish nonprofits expect all their donations before Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and also like the end of December. But Jewish nonprofits need support all year round. And so monthly recurring revenue is the most impactful, powerful way we can actually support the causes that we love. So that's why I built it in this way, for us to be able to harness the power of all these micro donations and have a monthly recurring support sustainability for the charities that we love.
And this is such an important point that is so often overlooked, right? The how important it is from an organization's perspective to actually have that recurring revenue, that constant support. And then on the other side of that, the spiritual implication that has for us. As we know, there is a lot more there's a lot more weight to giving smaller amounts on a consistent basis than waiting for one day to give that big check. And I think that's what you're creating for us. You're allowing us to become real givers, that we are consistently. And so what's so beautiful here is also going back to, you talk about the way your portfolio, quote unquote, is allocated, right? Which might be different from mine or my daughter's, right? We all have, as unique as we all have a unique inclination. And that's what's beautiful about this mitzvah. You're supposed to, be attracted to certain things. Like there is a corner in the world where you identify more, that you are more inclined to help there. And that's something that now you're giving to us. We're giving us the option to think like, wait, what do I really care about? Right.
Exactly.
I think it's just, you're really taking it to the next level. And then to add another point here that I think you haven't mentioned yet, but I know that you're intentional about, really you're teaching us, it's not really tzedakah, but it's really the giving of our meiser, of our tithing, because so many of us like, oh yeah, I give. But like, we really haven't sat down and said, well, how much am I really required to give? And now, right now you're setting us up to say, oh, wait, this is how much I make. This is really how much I should be giving. Let me just set it up. Let me just have it happen automatically. And then I'm fulfilling my obligation and it feels meaningful.
Definitely. Yeah, 100%. Maser is, it's like such a scary topic because it can be a tremendous amount of money, especially for people who are young and starting their families and, at the beginning of their career and don't have that much to give. But I always think about Maser in this way that, Jews love to give, $18, $36, $360, $180, but that blanket amount doesn't mean anything about me personally. So I can give $180. That might be a tremendous amount for me, but that might be very, very small for you.
Right.
And the way I think about Maser is that, it's as as God gives you blessings and as you grow in your career and as you make more money and your income becomes larger, so too the blessing you put out back into the world. Like it should be a reflection of your income. And
Exactly.
for a reason that's far beyond like I make X amount, so now I have to give Y amount. It's really a reflection of you showing complete emunah and like complete faith and trust that God is giving you blessing, and you see that it's not all because of you, and that has something to do with God as well. So that's why I think like Maser really is such an unbelievable mitzvah. It's like it's such an opportunity. It's such an opportunity to show that you don't see yourself as the sole reason why you made all that money, and that you understand that like as you grow, you give back more.
And as I hear you and understanding the millennial mentality, and even younger than millennial, right? We're talking about a generation who really wants to know that they are contributing, that they're impacting. It's about meaning, it's about meaning in the workplace. It's about meaning in, in my earnings and my giving. So this is really, really appealing. And, when we set it up, what's so beautiful is like, as I could see how a young family or a single individual, then, as we grow in our income going forward, we've already had a portfolio that of course we can adjust over time, but now our donations can increase as our income grows because we've already set up the system and the habit, because it's already automated. We don't have to rely on our will.
The best emails I get are the ones, or like DMs on Instagram, are the ones where people are telling me, letting me know that they got a raise and so they added money to their portfolio. It's just like, and it takes them 10 seconds. It's so easy because their credit card's already in there. And also just the people who will DM me and be like, oh, I added all these new charities because, like I want to make even more of a commitment to charity, to my tzedakah, my maser. And it becomes so easy because it's all set up for you.
Yeah. I love that. And I love that there's like a social integration feature going on here, because I think that's also very important to the generation. And we all know it, regardless of whether you're a millennial or not, like there is some sort of like, you always get moved by where your friends give. And, that's a lot of how we end up giving. Oh yeah. You care about that. Let me click and see what that's about. Right. And so you've built that into the platform, which is super neat.
Yeah. Social integration, I think, is the most important thing. I call it gamification. There are a lot of different aspects of social integration on our platform, and we're only going to be building more. Like we have so many plans, we're really at the beginning, and we have so many plans for different social integration. But one of them, which is a really powerful tool, is that if you sign on through Facebook, you can see when you're scrolling through the list of charities, you can see all of your Facebook friends who donate there. And I've watched somebody making their funds, and like they stop and they slow down when they see that their friends are donating to certain charities. And it's so natural. It's just, oh, I respect this person, I trust this person, and they care about this charity. I'd love to see what they have, what they're all about, which I think is such a powerful way to use, social incentives. We also have social incentives like if you make a fund and that you have your own unique link that you can send out to all of your friends. If any of them make a fund because of you, then you both get $36 added to your fund.
That is so super cool. And I think it's also great that we can give our kids, right? We can give gifts, like, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about that feature, because I think especially for a lot of the audience who are mothers, and this is a really attractive one, because again, we're really inculcating this habit to the next generation. This is the way to give. Like you said, we're not going to galas anymore, people.
Yeah, no, the gift feature is like, I love it. I think it's so wonderful. It kind of like, there are a lot of gift features out there with other nonprofits where you'll get an email like your friend blah 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 donated on your behalf to planted a tree on your behalf.
Yeah,
so sweet.
And they're beautiful. I love that.
Yeah, I love that. And I kind of wanted to like flip it on its head a bit. I was like, how powerful would it be if you could actually send that money to your friends and say, choose where you think that should go. Make your own portfolio, like make your own commitment, use my money, and choose the charities that mean something to you. Planting a tree might mean something to me, but something else might mean something to you, and actually like be intentional and thoughtful about it. We have people all the time who give for bar and bat mitzvah gifts. Bar mitzvah gifts is really big. Hanukkah gifts, and right now we have a Matnot Levionim Shalach Manu campaign.
Yes, beautiful. That's
Yeah.
so great. And you just reminded me, it's true, because I've done these types of gifts. I love receiving these gifts and I've done it, but I've also caught myself thinking, like, is this going to be meaningful to the person? I don't know. Maybe I don't
You
know
never
them
know.
well enough, to know. So this is really, really brilliant. One of the things that I did notice, and I wonder how you kind of address this or think through this one. And because as you and I know, having this conversation, we know giving is in our spiritual DNA, right? Like, we are a nation of givers, and we as a nation give disproportionately relative to, other groups out there, not just necessarily to Jewish causes, but again, it goes back to the fact that it is in our spiritual DNA. When we go to a place like My Tzedakah, we're looking at Jewish causes. We're looking at contributing to our own people, to the needs of our own people. And again, there's a vastness in the, options that you have available. How do we talk to the skeptic, the person who says, but I want to donate to the whales and the dog shelter or the local women's shelter? I mean, those, what's wrong with that? And you don't have it here. Why do I have to stick to Hatzalah or?
No, yeah, it's a great question, and we do get it sometimes. And I think it's important to donate to all the causes that matter to you, and that includes non-Jewish causes. I sometimes donate to I donate to non-Jewish causes all the time. We built My Tzedakah under the, with the ideology that tzedakah starts at home.
Yeah.
Right. The halacha is that tzedakah starts at home. It starts in your house. It starts with your family. It starts with your community. It starts with the Jewish people and Israel. And I think that it's never been more important than it is now, I think, to give back to the Jewish community. No one else is giving to us, no one else is looking out for us. And it's important really to think about how we want to leave a legacy on this earth when it comes to our brothers and sisters, when it comes to the people who need us. I think it's tremendously important to give to whatever feels right in your soul. I want to help people give their maser to the Jewish community at large, and to teach them about, there are dog shelters in the Jewish community. There are women's shelters in the Jewish community. And if you're really passionate about giving to those things, like, I would love to teach you about some of those organizations that are out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It goes back to the fundamentals, right? That there is a prescribed order in this divine system of giving, and there is, we like you said, we encourage people to give everywhere, but there is an order of giving, and it does start with family. It starts with community. It starts with your nation. It starts, Israel, and then we go beyond that. Getting a little bit more personal, Carly, you did say that tzedakah was something that it sounds like it was a value that was instilled from home, at home. I wonder if you can talk to us a little bit about, what was your upbringing around beyond tzedakah? And that could be part of the story here, but beyond tzedakah, what do you feel was your upbringing around money like? As you probably know, at this point in your adult life, a lot of the way we relate to money and behave with money has so much to do with the experiences and the things we heard growing up. So maybe share with us some of those lessons or experiences that you feel shaped you in this regard and the way you relate to money.
Yeah. So like I said, tzedakah was such an important part of my life because it is how my parents raised me. But besides even tzedakah, like, I was brought up in a household, and people say this and sounds like a fairy tale, but it really is true. In my upbringing, my parents really taught me that money is not ours. The money that we made, the money that comes to us, it is from God. Like, I was taught that from a very, very young age, to the extent that, like, I truly believe it. Like, it's hard for me to say no to giving tzedakah to anyone, because I'm like, how can I say no? Like, God's giving me an opportunity to give tzedakah for a reason, and money's not mine, right? My parents really instilled that in me. It was such an important lesson, honestly, because besides for like giving tzedakah, it's just so important for children to understand that what we have in life are blessings from Hashem. They're blessings from God. it has like, obviously we put work in, but it has so little to do with us. And
Yeah.
it's just such an important lesson to learn about, arrogance and pride. My parents really raised me in a household. They believe it. They live it and they believe it. And me and my family believe it. And I'm trying to instill that in my children as well.
Yeah. And what are the things that like you saw when you say like they really believed it? Like, did you see them give? Did they share with you, or did they, when you got Hanukkah money or bas mitzvah money, did they say, okay, what's your 10% going for? Like, what did you see these things? What did you see punctually?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up with like parlor meetings in my house
Aha.
weekly. My parents hosted every cause. Everyone knew if you needed to if you needed to share, if you need to share about your cause in the 5 towns, you're
You
gonna
came.
be at the Rothenberg house. I was there. Like, that's how I grew up, seeing that.
Mhm.
Also, like, people, my parents were so inspired by people being so altruistic. Like,
Yeah.
I think my parents, if they could, they would have just been on every single board of every single nonprofit. They're just like really they're empaths, and they just want to change the world.
Mm.
And I grew up seeing that. Like, they give tzedakah all the time. And they like our bat mitzvahs. My sister's bat mitzvah, in lieu of accepting gifts, she accepted money for tzedakah. And it's just something that really was ingrained in
Yeah.
our household.
That's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. Other than getting a little bit more personal, even like other than your giving that you've, now that you have your own platform and you've created your own system around giving. And I think it's very funny that you mentioned at the beginning, like, I saw that now I became an adult and I wasn't really giving with the intentionality that I wanted to. I can relate to that experience. Like, yeah, this was so
Yeah.
important to me. But when it push came to shove, it's like, well, I have work and I have this, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll give here, I'll give there. But like, I didn't sit down and get myself organized and intentional. So I love the honesty there. So my question is, any other financial habits that you practice regularly that you feel like really have an impact on your financial life?
Besides
The giving.
tzedakah, you're saying?
Yeah.
Um, well, me and my husband sat down and budgeted our lives, and we
Wow.
have, I think, a pretty clear understanding of, our finances, where things can go, what's, how to categorize it, the same way that, that kind of was also like the impetus for me to create this. Is like, why am I putting so much effort into, like, how often I can go shopping or go to a restaurant? I'm putting no thought or care into my tzedakah.
Right.
But yeah, at the beginning of our marriage, like, right away, we made spreadsheets.
Wow.
They were wrong
Okay.
because we didn't know what any
What
of
we're
it
doing.
meant. But yeah, budgeting was really important to us, and just like having a clear understanding of like
Yeah.
how much money's coming in and how much money's going out. Very
Right.
important.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing to hear from such a young couple. But again, I think it's a testament to the generation. Like, we're really looking to build lives with meaning, and taking care of our money in an intent with an intentional with intentionality is part of that. That's just so amazing to see. I want to ask you about your entrepreneurial journey, Carly, because you mentioned that you came from the nonprofit sector. And as you and I know, entrepreneurship is really not for everyone. Not everybody's cut out
Mhm.
for this. And it's not so often that we see the transition from employee in the nonprofit sector to entrepreneur, CEO, right? That's not something that we see that often. So talk to us about that transition. At what point in your career journey, because you could have taken, you could have identified that you needed something better, you needed to get organized, and it could have stopped at you finding, getting yourself more on track with this, building yourself some system. But you took it to the next level. You said, no, nobody's doing it. I need to go build this thing. I need to become my own boss. This is, so talk to us about that. At what point did you say, I'm in on this, God? Like, I have to change the world in this way. There's more for me than just working and contributing within the nonprofit space.
Yeah, it's such a good question. Right when I graduated college, I started working at another tech startup, a
Mm-hmm.
Jewish nonprofit tech startup. And
Mm.
I was the first person that they hired, and I worked there for like 7 years.
Oh,
And so, like, what kinds of experiences I had. Like I built everything from scratch, and I didn't know that that was unusual. That was all I knew. I was, making subscription plans and like building a product and talking to developers and talking to tech teams and, coming up with marketing plans, because like I was the first employee and it just like kind of grew around me. And when I thought about my tzedakah and I thought about, how impactful and potential and great it could be, I felt like, okay, you know what? I can do this myself. I just basically did it for this other company. I just didn't have my own stake in the game. And I was in, like, me and my husband were in a good enough place where I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going all in on myself. I have the confidence. And I also saw, honestly, that there was a huge lack in female leadership, female CEOs, female founders, especially for tech startups. There are a lot of nonprofits that are run by women, but I actually felt like there wasn't a lot of tech startups in the Jewish space that were founded by women. And I was like, hey, it was like chutzpah, honestly. I was like, I'm going to step into this role. I'm really happy I did, because I'm having like such interesting experiences of like me having a meeting with 60-something-year-old rabbis, and I'm like, you're doing fundraising all wrong. And they're like, oh yeah, okay, tell me more. Show me your tech platform. And they're like, you know what, you're right. And it's like, it's a really wonderful, empowering experience. And yeah, I really think it was just the chutzpah to be able to just go all in on myself.
I love it. I love it. The hand of God is just unbelievable. I didn't even know that your first, job out of college was in the tech space. I mean, talk about God setting us up. Oh yeah. Right.
Especially because the reason I even got that job was the hand of God. I wanted to go to editing and publishing.
Really?
I wanted to go into editing and publishing. I was a psychology major and an English major. Wait.
How did you end up in tech?
Right. Yeah. So I remember I sent my resume or whatever it was on there to a rabbi who had published a lot of books. And I asked him if he could push it onto his like publishing firm. And he was like, you know what? I'm actually starting something on my own. And his whole thing is very like, he is like also an English literature guy. He like brings in the Torah, and he's like, okay, I'm starting something on my own. Like, do you want to work for me? And so then we built this whole platform together. Wow. And it ended up being like, now I think it's like huge. It's a huge nonprofit. It's called Aleph Beta.
Yes, of course. I love Aleph Beta. Everybody loves Aleph Beta.
I sent Rabbi Foreman my resume. I was his first employee.
Unbelievable. He's amazing. Wow.
Yeah. So it really was like really in God's hands. Like, and all of a sudden I'm working for a tech startup.
And it all ties in so beautifully, because the minute we start recognizing that it's all in God's hands, and this is the basic premise, and like you said so beautifully before, right? Our income is just a blessing. It goes back to the source of it all, right? We are getting the money. We trust that it's completely in your hands, that I'm just here putting the effort. I'm going through the motions. I'm sending in the resume. I'm doing what I need to do. And the result is all in God's hands. And then when I get that, how could I not? How could I even fathom that it was all my doing, right?
Yeah.
And when 100%. We give, we're recognizing, I get it. It's not all me. It's not on me. If I didn't have you behind me, none of this would be happening. It's
100%.
It's a whole mindset, right? It's like, it goes down to the giving. It goes down to the logging into my tzedakah and going through the motions, but it starts from the mindset. So it's amazing. Going back to the platform itself and the business behind this, one of the things that I noticed that really amazed me is that 100% of every dollar that we give goes to the charity of our choice or charities of our choice. That is obviously a huge deal. But then my question is, so how does the business model work from your end? How do you keep this amazing platform operating? How do we do this?
Yeah, so in the beginning, we were really being supported by our board, by philanthropists who shared the same vision, which was
Wow.
amazing. It was amazing for our operations to be covered, for our overhead to be covered, and for us to really do this like 100% Lishma. And then as we grew and developed, a lot of larger institutions, larger organizations started to express that they would like to have, white labeled versions of the
Mm.
platform or co-branded versions of the platform. And we're building tools and we're building platforms to be able to sell to these larger institutions for them to be able to actually make their users and their donors have more intentionality when they donate to them. So those
Wow.
are things that are in the works and we're working on. We have contracts and we're things that are currently being built, but that's going to be a large way where we're going to be making money.
That's amazing. So if we look at Carly's journey and you're kind of like your everyday, we're talking about you dealing with developers and tech and marketing and conversations like this, and also fundraising, and also connecting, with the people that are going to brand with, like, there is so much that you're doing. I think you have a team with you, and I want to talk about that team because I notice it's an all-female team that is along with you.
Yeah.
Was that by design, Carly?
It was not by design, but I think
It was by design,
was
by
by
God, but
design.
not by you.
Yes, like maybe it was by design unconsciously. We call ourselves the mom entrepreneurs. Yeah, we have an all-female team, and it's like this wonderful experience of being able to build a company that's like founded on compassion with a bunch of people who have a tremendous amount of compassion, mothers,
Yeah.
women, mothers, and to be able to, I think, like build a company around like righting a lot of the wrongs that we've experienced
Mm-hmm.
in our past. And it really is like a wonderful experience. It really is amazing to be able to collaborate with like strong, independent women and come up with something so powerful, so impactful. In like a nice way. It's also like a little condescending when we meet with like some men. They're like, wow, it's really amazing. Like, you're going to get a lot of funding for this because it's also like a company that was started by women. It's like, okay.
Okay.
Thank you, I guess.
I guess,
But
as
yeah,
long as it benefits us.
yeah, I was like, all right, sure. But yeah, we call ourselves the mom entrepreneurs. My team is predominantly like my full-time staff are women. My developer is actually a man, but I don't pay him. He was gifted to me, so I don't think it counts.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That is amazing. Does the fact that you're in Israel, has that helped in terms of your developer and any of the other tech people that are involved? Because talk about Israel, we're talking about tech. Or
it's helped in that things are cheaper.
Mm.
But I think what's really helped being in Israel is that this is like really a really progressive, growing
Yeah.
community.
Right.
People are really willing to have these conversations. People are
Yes.
really willing to change and grow in terms of like how can we be progressive in our tzedakah, but also like no one is upset sitting in a room with a bunch of women,
Mm-hmm.
young women, and no one's upset hearing us say like let us help you change.
Yeah.
But yeah, Israel is definitely also, there are so many entrepreneurs here who are,
Exactly.
it's really something I didn't know could happen, but like people are just so willing to help. Like
Mm-hmm.
everyone in the tech startup scene here is just like pushing me from person to person. You have to talk to this person. This person would love this. So it's like these tech geniuses in this
Yeah.
country, they all care about tzedakah because they are Jewish,
Yes.
and they're willing to give me their time. They're willing to give me their advice. Like they're willing to be my mentors, and they don't take a dime, because they're like, yeah, this is so needed, and it's amazing that you're building this, and we're in the tech space, and we care about tzedakah, and it's just like such a great blend.
So great, Carly. This is so great. I want to wrap it up with something I do with all my guests. And this is going to be a part of the show where I'm going to give you an open-ended sentence and you're going to finish it with the first thing that comes to mind. All right.
Okay.
Okay. When I give Meiser or tzedakah, I like to give to.
I like to give to nonprofits that speak to my soul, that feel like they're part of my legacy, that feel like they're a part of my neshama, that feel like they're a part of me. Nonprofits that are doing a lot with their money, that are intentional and impactful with the dollars that I give, that are transparent, that want to grow a relationship with me. And I give my maser to the nonprofits that I think are changing the world.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, said like the CEO of my tzedakah. Okay. I'd love to make more money because
it would be amazing to have no barriers, like nothing holding me back from being able to commit myself fully to the Jewish people.
wow.
I would love to not have to worry about how much money I'm making. If I had unlimited amounts of money, I think I would just be on every board of every nonprofit that mattered to me and just like volunteer my time, volunteer my, what I know to helping the Jewish community. I think people who work in nonprofits are like heroes and we should be giving them all the money. Like they should be making far larger salaries than anyone. So
wow.
if I had more money, that's what I would do.
That's awesome. Something I wish I'd learned about money growing up is
something I wish I'd learned about money growing up. It's a good question. I wish I learned more about how every different type of, like everyone across the globe like lives. Like I wish I knew more about money disparity and how different communities struggle and what that meant for that community. Like if you live in a lower income community, what that means for how you're brought up, what that means for how, the opportunities that you have. I wish I was taught that when I was younger.
Yeah. Interesting answer. Yeah. And you're not the first one who said it on the show. Yeah. Sometimes I guess sometimes that is missing because we grew up in our little bubble, right? And just, we know what we know.
I grew up in a bubble.
Right. Right. Money, spiritual or physical?
I think it's spiritual. If you can't tell. I really do.
Something I splurge on unapologetically is
massages.
Oh, good. That's so nice. Yes. Good for you. Yeah. Carly, spender or saver?
I'm a saver.
Really? Good for you.
I'm a hardcore saver. My husband is the spender.
Really? Yeah. I was sharing in one of my programs the other day how you'll like this, because this whole divine system of giving, of setting aside automatically every time you receive your income 10% and channeling it to where it needs to go, to the charity, right, is the foundation for the rest of the system, for the saving. Because if we learn how to do that, it's the same muscle that we need to activate in order to save properly. You just had to automate it and just put it on autopilot, and before you know it, it's just happening.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. It's God trying to teach us about, holding ourselves back from spending all of our money.
Okay, Carly, today I am most grateful for
being able to live in Israel, being able to fulfill my dreams, being able to do the work that I'm doing, and my family.
Beautiful. How long ago did you guys move to Israel?
5 years ago.
So you moved already married?
Yeah, I moved married with a 10-month-old.
Wow. That's so nice. Finally, I'm Carly Rothenberg Friedman, and I believe Jewish money matters because the Jewish people are the
are in the image of God. Everything we do is a reflection of Hashem. Everything we do is a reflection of our Creator. And we need to be the example through which the world learns about how to be godly people, how to be mini creators ourselves.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, Carly, so much for this conversation and for everything you're doing. Really, kol hakavod. I think, as I said, this was so needed. You're really changing the world through this platform. And I know you have a really meaningful treat for all of our listeners that I'm really excited to hear about.
Yes, of course. I'm really excited to be able to offer you guys a matching campaign. So anybody from this podcast, anyone who makes a fund on my tzedakah, does not matter how large, does not matter how small, could be $5 a month, could be $700 a month. Every single dollar will be matched to the charities of your choice. So if you build yourself a fund, if you build yourself a portfolio, we will match every single one of your dollars for the first month.
That is unbelievable. That is so generous and so beautiful. And I guess, how do we do that? We build our portfolio and then we let them know, we let you know that, how does that
work? As you build your portfolio, when you're completing the process, we're going to ask you how you heard about us. Put in the name of this podcast.
Amazing. I think that is such a beautiful gift. Thank you so much for doing that. And thank you for and continued success, and keep us posted. We want to continue this conversation. I'm sure we're going to have a lot more to report in the near future.
Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.